Week 8 had a ton happen, so we have a lot to look forward to this week 9 of the NFL regular season. We've got our games of the week, we got our fantasy picks to pop, our game picks, and of course rounding things out with our storylines. Hit the intro.
Perfect.
Before we get too far into things, subscribe to support the channel and of course get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. And with that out of the way, it's on to the content. Let's get things started with our games of the week. We got the Cleveland Browns heading into Cincinnati. The AFC North, like I have mentioned previously, is chock full of talented teams, even playoff level teams, meaning every matchup that they play this season is going to be, in my opinion, a marquee matchup to spotlight and to keep your eyes on heading into that Sunday. And in this one, you got the Cleveland Browns coming off of a loss, playing against the Cincinnati Bengals coming off of a loss. And for the Cleveland Browns in this one, it's just about trying to fight themselves back into a position to be considered a playoff team. The AFC as a whole is really wide open still, but with Cleveland having a little bit of drama on the side, even with some injuries along the way, they're still very much in the hunt here. And coming off of a loss against the in-division rival Pittsburgh Steelers last week in Cleveland, it's going to mean a lot for this squad to get a big win over another in-division rival in the Cincinnati Bengals, who last week got humbled by the New York Jets. So both of these teams right now are very vulnerable, but both of these teams right now are walking in with a chip on their shoulder. The return of Nick Chubb for the Cleveland Browns is going to help add some extra juice into that offensive rushing attack. The defense still being led by the NFL sack leader in Myles Garrett, who has 10.5 sacks on this season, is going to have a lot to look forward to against still a very spotty Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. And for the Bengals, like I mentioned, coming off of a humbling loss last week against the New York Jets, they're going to need to get back on track this week. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and company last week lost to quarterback Mike White, who set a week-high 405 passing yards. So on the offensive side of things, obviously, it's still just about outscoring opponents. And for the defense, it's about trying to maintain the pace of the game, taking those opportunities, getting turnovers, and just not allowing your opponent, to claw its way back into the game that we saw, like I said, last week. So for the Cincinnati Bengals walking into this matchup at home against the in-division rival Cleveland Browns, they have a lot to prove, as the rest of the season could very well be determined by this matchup. How do you respond after adversity? How do you respond after a crushing loss against a team that you honestly had no business losing to? That's going to be a really interesting matchup to keep our eyes on. Second matchup I wanted to spotlight, the Green Bay Packers heading into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. And this matchup means a lot for the Kansas City Chiefs, way more than it probably does for the Green Bay Packers. For Kansas City, the remainder of their schedule, they're playing teams that are right now either 500 or better, so they have a long and tough road to get back into the playoff picture. Kansas City, like I've mentioned week over week, has been stumbling a lot this season, especially at the quarterback position. Patrick Mahomes turning the ball over quite a lot this season, and the defense giving them basically no help, right? So the Kansas City Chiefs have a lot riding on this game. They're going to have a lot riding on, honestly, every single matchup throughout the rest of the season, but against a Super Bowl contending Green Bay Packers team, this one's going to mean even more. So Andy Reid and the rest of the squad, Eric Bieniemy and company, have a lot on their plate heading into this Sunday. It's going to be a premier matchup, especially for one side that absolutely needs as many wins as possible. And for the Green Bay Packers, it's just a good, fun matchup against what is still a very solid Kansas City Chiefs team. The final matchup I want to spotlight, the Tennessee Titans taking on the Los Angeles Rams. And this matchup poses a lot of personnel questions, most notably for the Los Angeles Rams, the addition of future Hall of Famer Von Miller into this defensive rotation. Him and Aaron Donald, two absolute sack artists, two future Hall of Famers, going to be playing on the same defensive line. And in the secondary, of course, Jalen Ramsey. The Los Angeles Rams are in win now mode. They're trying to separate themselves from the rest of their counterparts in the NFC. And we're going to talk a lot more in depth about what the addition of Von Miller means to this Los Angeles Rams squad later on in our storyline segment. But just looking at his effect, how is Von Miller going to play and perform in this matchup against the Titans? That's going to be their spotlight. And for the Tennessee Titans, this game is going to hinge on the passing attack. Ryan Tannehill, Julio Jones, AJ Brown are going to be the focal points of the Rams game plan going into this game. So for them, it's a matter of doing your job, right? Taking advantage of the opportunities given to you. Ryan Tannehill knows that this offense is predicated on the run game, but with the loss of Derrick Henry for the remainder of the regular season, it's going to put the onus on the passing game to make big plays and to set the tone for the offense. And honestly, the biggest spotlight in this game comes down to head coach Mike Vrabel. How do you account for the loss of your best player? How do you shift your entire offense from a rushing attack first to a passing attack dominant offense? That's going to be the big spotlights heading into this matchup. I'm really excited to see what the Titans are going to do, how they're going to respond to that loss against a very tough Los Angeles Rams squad. With our games of the week out of the way, let's take a quick segue onto fantasy football, our picks to pop for the week. And these picks might not even be for just this week. There's a few names that I'm throwing into this list this week that are going to be playing for the remainder of the season, barring any injuries to themselves as well. And I want to start off with quarterback Taysom Hill for the New Orleans Saints, returning against the Atlanta Falcons from a concussion protocol last week. That's why we didn't see him playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With the loss of quarterback Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill for your fantasy team brings a lot to the table, right? He can run, he can pass decently well, but he can also catch the ball. So he is a triple threat option for you at the quarterback position. They're going to be running their offense incredibly dynamic. Sean Payton obviously is going to have a lot of packages tailor-made just for Taysom Hill's abilities. I'm excited to see what they're going to do long-term at the quarterback position. The New Orleans Saints are in kind of a crazy spot right now, right? Competing for first place in the division. I obviously didn't expect that going into this season, but they have a really good squad. Taysom Hill, if you're really quarterback needy right now, let's say maybe you were starting Jameis, he might be somebody worth looking into to pick up, maybe as your starter for the foreseeable future if you're just really strapped at the position. Second up this week, I've got Tyler Conklin, the tight end from the Minnesota Vikings. And playing against the Baltimore Ravens this week, they're allowing about 20 points in PPR formats to tight ends. Tyler Conklin has carved himself out a role in the Minnesota Vikings passing game, getting 5 or more targets in, for the last 5 games. So he's seeing the ball plenty. He's going to have plenty of opportunities against this just awful Baltimore Ravens secondary. So he could be the guy you need to start this week if you're a little tight at tight end. And the final player I want to spotlight, it's not going to be super sexy of a pick, but it's going to be Jeremy McNichols, the Tennessee Titans running back, even playing against a very tough Los Angeles Rams squad. If you're strapped at running back, McNichols is going to very likely be the #1 running back walking into this week, as even though they did sign Adrian Peterson to the practice squad, they're going to elevate him to the regular roster. McNichols has more familiarity, of course, in that system for the Tennessee Titans. He's going to know how to basically work within that offense. So he's going to be seeing a lot of playing time for the next couple weeks as Adrian Peterson adjusts and gets familiar with the schemes and the setups. So McNichols is just going to get points based on just legitimate necessary touches. The fantasy segment in the rear view mirror. Let's move on to our game picks for the week. Starting things off, the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the New York Giants in MetLife. Give me the Las Vegas Raiders, who are coming off of a bye. Atlanta taking on the New Orleans Saints. I still think the Saints could win this one just based on pure coaching alone. Give me New Orleans. Buffalo and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are abysmal. The Buffalo Bills are absolutely not. Give me the Buffalo Bills. The Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think both of these teams could absolutely use a win, but I think Cleveland's going to walk into this one a little bit more hungry. Consider Myles Garrett the MVP of this game. New England and the Carolina Panthers. The revenge of Stephon Gilmore. I don't know if he's going to be enough to turn the tide in this one. Give me the New England Patriots. Denver taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys offense has been dominant. Give me the Cowboys. Minnesota taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens coming off of a bye week, going to be well rested. Give me the Baltimore Ravens. Houston taking on the Miami Dolphins. Two just bad teams right now. I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins. LA Chargers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly's coming in hot. The Chargers coming in with a chip on their shoulder. Give me the LA Chargers having a big day on the offense. Arizona and San Francisco, an NFC West matchup. The Arizona Cardinals dealing with some injuries is probably going to be a lot closer than we expect, but I'm still going to take the Arizona Cardinals in this one. Tennessee and the Los Angeles Rams, Sunday Night Football. With all the injuries and all the questions for Tennessee, give me the Los Angeles Rams. And finally, Monday Night Football, Chicago heading into Pittsburgh. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers and a dominant defense. And with our picks out of the way, it's time for the final segment of the video. Let's check out our storylines. The first question I have, are the Los Angeles Rams the frontrunners in the AFC with the addition of Von Miller? Looking around the rest of the NFC, it's not an easy question to answer, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, you can never count them out. The Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers are an absolutely hot offense right now with 7 straight wins. The Dallas Cowboys look like they're going to have a great opportunity to even be potentially first place in the NFC as a whole, with the NFC East just looking absolutely awful. But the Cowboys, put a little respect on their name, they're playing really well this season as well. But the Los Angeles Rams, they're just a super complete squad, and the pass rush getting even better. Pass rush being the name of the game, and a lot of cases having 2 future Hall of Famers. Von Miller, the future Hall of Famer formerly of the Denver Broncos, joining Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey into this very well-established LA Rams defense. So, with the superb offense that you have with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and company, is this the best team in the NFC? I don't know if I can quite answer that. I still think it's between them and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the LA Rams are going to be a serious contender come playoff time. I think they're still in a position where they could very easily win the NFC West, and with the Cardinals dealing with some injuries, who knows, they could very easily win the NFC West at this point. Look, it's a really interesting question. Are they the best right now? I certainly think it's at least up for debate. Another question I wanted to spotlight, can the New England Patriots rally with the remaining schedule that they have? The New England Patriots, after a big win against the Los Angeles Chargers, are in a really good position to find themselves in the playoffs this upcoming postseason. The remainder of their schedule looks very favorable towards New England. Their toughest opponents left are going to be the Buffalo Bills twice and the Cleveland Browns in just a couple of weeks. And with the Browns even dealing with some injuries right now, the Patriots are still very much so in the race for the postseason. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots as a whole, with Josh McDaniels, the play calling is getting a little bit better. This team is getting a little bit more disciplined down the stretch. Quarterback and rookie Mac Jones is top 5 in the league in completion percentage and top 10 in passing yards as of right now. The Patriots offense is getting going. Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris being a nice 1-2 punch we saw last week against the Chargers. This might just be an optimistic fan. I mean, mind you, I got the Patriots picture up in the background and the gnome right over here, but even beyond just being a little bit of a fan, just being a little bit of a fan here, the Patriots have a really good opportunity that they could very well rally. They could very well find themselves in the playoffs. If this offense could just keep things going, managing game block, grinding away their opponents, and keeping their defense as fresh as possible, the Patriots could be something scary to watch out for the rest of this season. And the final thing I want to spotlight in this one very quickly is Odell Beckham. Like, what's the situation with him? Because as the trade deadline neared, there were a lot of rumors. There was a lot of names being thrown around, but Odell Beckham seemed to be a really important person that we were talking about heading into the trade deadline this past Tuesday. Heck, even LeBron James tweeting out #FreeOdell. His dad putting out a tweet, a 12-minute long video of Baker Mayfield not throwing to Odell Beckham Jr., of him missing Odell Beckham Jr., and Odell Beckham even putting, commenting the checkmark emojis underneath it and just continuing to add to the mystery. It's going to be a really awkward situation for the Cleveland Browns and Odell Beckham. What do GM Andrew Berry and head coach Kevin Stefanski do with this situation? it's going to be a situation, honestly, that we have to keep our eyes on for the rest of the season, and heck, even going into this offseason. What do the Browns do with Odell? And with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching the video. Of course, feel free to check me out on all my social medias. They're going to be down in the description below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. My name is Tristan Blake Rines, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Adios.